The comment. Now, Candace was here to see if her ex-boyfriend Andrew was the father of her biracial child. Candace said that Andrew admitted he's a racist and would never claim a biracial child. Take a look at this.
I'm here because I had a biracial child with a man who, very, just want to say it, he's a racist. And it's strange because he's white and...
Wait a minute. You have a biracial child with
Yes.
a man who is a racist.
Yes.
So how did you even conceive a child?
Yes. That's my question. When I first met him, no, he just seemed like a regular guy, and we talked, and when we, a couple days into talking to him, he told me about he never would have been, a couple weeks ago, he never would even talk to me. And I was just like, really? And he was like, yeah, I used to be racist, and he was like, but you just seem like so open and really, you just seem like a person I could just talk to. And I was like, really? So things went on from there, and we started a relationship.
And then why did you stop living together? Why did that?
He started to get kind of violent, and he started to scare me. He wasn't really violent towards me, he was violent towards Tim.
Because Tim, your boyfriend, the two of you have a child together.
Yes, we have a child.
And he was coming over every day for visitation.
Yeah,
and it was always a confrontation of some sort.
Because I always promised him he can always come over every day and see his child, so that he wouldn't think that I would ever take her away from him.
Okay.
So, we always made that agreement. So, and Andrew had a problem with that.
Okay.
Tim would come over and he'd be like, you don't need to talk to him. He doesn't need to be here. And if they went through the courts, it wouldn't be this way. And when I was like, well, we're not going through the courts, and this is how it is.
So that became too much to handle, and you decided to move out.
Yes.
Once you moved out, though, all of a sudden you go and take a pregnancy test.
Yes.
And what happens? Bingo, bango.
Yep.
You're
I'm pregnant. Well, when I had her, I called, and Andrew called me back later. He told me, okay, well, baby's born, I wanted a paternity test. And then they were still living in Vegas then. And then all of a sudden they moved to Springfield, Missouri. And I had no idea.
Is he going back to being a racist?
I guess so. He said he's kind of hanging out with his old friends again, back into his old ways.
Well, we then met Andrew, and here's what he had to say. Well, how do you view?
I view kind of like the opposite of Malcolm X. He viewed in separatism of the races. So I guess I'm just not saying I'm white Malcolm X, but I just view we should be separate.
Well, I mean, look, wait a second. I will tell you, at least in this day and age, I am sorry. I respect the person who is willing to put their views out there in public. I mean, you're willing to sit here and talk about it. I respect that. If that's how you feel, but dude, you got to hear me for a second, because if you were such a separatist, you were a separatist before you met her.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, that separatism came away when you separated your pants from your body.
I had originally, no one in my family, some of my other friends did not appreciate it or respect the fact that I was the way I was. So
wait, respect the fact that you were the way you were, what, before?
Before, yes.
You met her?
Yes.
So your friends and some members of your family didn't agree with you being a separatist?
Exactly. And I had tried changing, mainly for them.
Changing to stop those views?
Yes, yes. And you cannot stop who and what you are. You can't stop what you feel.
Well, I'm not sure unless you...
You can try and hide it, but doesn't, I am what I am.
You are willing to die for those beliefs?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Right, just a second. Well, dude, but see, now you throw me with this, Andrew. Because if you believe so strongly, you would have never conceived this child.
Ever since finding out she was pregnant and our split up, and the emotions I was going through, my convictions and my beliefs have actually become stronger than before.
Okay. But could Candace's husband, Tim, possibly be the father of her biracial child? Take a look at this.
If it's Andrew's child, I just want him to sign over the rights.
Why?
Because he hasn't been in this child's life for a whole year. He hasn't called once. He hasn't stopped by. He hasn't sent something. He hasn't said nothing. And every time Candace calls him, she says she wants nothing to do with this child. He wants nothing to do with this child.
Well, you know what? If that's your view and you want nothing to do with this child, then let's just have something to do with his paycheck.
Montel,
Because he's going to get one. And hold on. It's not you. I'm going to say this. It's not for you and it's not for her to utilize to raise your child. But eventually, this little baby right there, who is a biracial child with a racist, possibly with a racist father, is going to have to deal with this world without the two of you.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be a great thing for the next 18 years, he put about, oh, who knows, $120,000 into a bank account that she can use to go to college anywhere she wants?
I don't care about that, Montel. I'm doing it, okay?
But
for a whole year now, I work. She doesn't work. She stays at home with the children.
Doesn't matter.
I work. I bought all the diapers. I buy the food. I do everything. I put the roof over their head.
You're a stepdad.
He hasn't done nothing, okay?
You are a stepdad.
If the DNA test is his, he's the father. By DNA, yes, but he is not a father. I am a father.
All you are
he
is
is given over the rights. The reason why he is given over the rights is because I'm not going to have in the back of my mind, if he ever goes to visit her or something, he's going to do something to her because of because he believes in what he believes in.
Here's the interesting thing, though. I believe this might be an excuse. He's 21. I'm sorry. I don't think, honestly, truthfully, the majority of people who have your view are people your age and younger. And you ain't been on this planet long enough to hate anybody. That's the way I feel. And eventually, you know, the one thing about it, you ought to look at it another way, too, Tim. If there was one way in the world that we could change the mind of one hater, you can't do it, she can't do it, but I'll bet you hard money that baby could. And, of course, the results were in. When it comes to Tim, Shantae, and Candace, or Andrew, Shantae, and Candace, these were the only two people you were with.
Yes.
So it has to be one of their children.
Yes.
Let's start with Andrew. And you were with Andrew at the time that you think you conceived.
Yes. Multiple times. I mean, like every day. So I'm leaning towards Andrew.
Now we're in a quandary. Because here's what the quandary is. Goes back to the discussion that we were having earlier today. There is no doubt, no ifs, ands, or buts, that you, Andrew, are the father of this child. So now that puts the three of you in this odd position. You now have to go out to all of your friends and supporters and justify why it is that you had a relationship with an African-American woman, and you now have a child that no matter how you try to write it or look at it, you have a biracial child. We'll give you an update when we come back. We'll be back right after this. As the father of her child, and on the show, Andrew said that he didn't plan on being involved in the baby's life, and here's what's happened since the show.
When I got home from the show, Montel, I called and I talked to Andrew once or twice. First time I talked to him, we talked about child support and his information, home address and number and stuff like that, and decide whether or not we decided to go forth with the child support. I've always told him that, you know, if he changed his mind and he wanted to be a part of her life, that I have no problem with that as long as, you know, he was serious and really meant what he said and wouldn't be going back and forth out of her life. When Montel read the DNA results, I was very happy because I knew all along that she was Andrew's, and I was happy that he finally knew the truth and he could deal with that and stop ignoring the fact that she was really his. Montel, would just like to say thank you so much for having us on your show. It means a lot to me. You're a wonderful, wonderful inspiration to me and my family, so thank you so much for having us on your show.
Well, Montel, I came back to Vegas, and Candace had contacted me up until now. Even now, we're still not exactly sure on which direction to go, whether she wants me to sign over rights or not. So we're kind of taking it one day at a time right now. I was hoping the results would have been negative for me, but I know they're not, and I have to live with that and deal with that. I'm never going to be in the child's life. You know, it may be hard for some people to comprehend or even tolerate, but that's the best way for everybody involved. I wanted to thank you, Montel, for being respectful towards me. I respect that and I appreciate that.